Well, Andres, thanks for this presentation of myself. I didn't understand that. Why? Because my Estonian is quite limited. My English is quite limited too. So this might be the advantage for those in the room who do not understand English so very well, but I try to do my best to formulate in a way that you can understand. When I came in here yesterday, I had a completely different presentation in my pocket. I changed this after the meeting we had yesterday evening. Thanks again for that, Christina. And after the debate I heard today, because we learned a lot about detailed problems, how to organize a cooperative, about the legal frame, about people, do they accept, do they want to participate, yes or no? And this is what we learned in the past years too. Hans spoke about Denmark, I can speak about Germany, but what I want to do first is I would like to step back a little bit, and I would like to check where we are. I'd like to do some general remarks on energy policy, because it's on energy policy. Simply, who is doing energy policy and who is doing energy production? Then in my presentation, I try, as you asked me to do, I try to speak a little bit about the situation in my country, what went well, what was bad, what kind of mistakes do we have made. And then at the final end, I try also, as Hans did, to give some comments on the situation I see here in your country, and especially in the project, and especially in those projects which I have seen quite well. I don't know whether you're aware that the European Union published a new paper 2 months ago. It's a paper on the new design of markets, of electricity markets, and we have spoken about markets today. Is there an access to the grid? Can people produce energy and send it to the grid? Can they be a partner in the energy markets? And you know that the EU had set some goals with their energy and climate policy, and these goals are to reduce the energy imports, to become more independent from Mr. Putin, from the Sheikh of Oman, and so on and so on. Second is we would like to see a more environmental and climate-friendly energy production regarding the climate changes. And third is to create green jobs, so to make sure that the economic development in Europe, in Estonia, in the regions can grow up by a new energy policy. And reading that paper, and I really like to advise you to read that paper I mentioned, and it's available in Estonian. Andres, you have it since last night, and it's not a problem to share it via the network here. The EU is speaking about fundamental changes which are needed, fundamental changes. And the question is, where are these changes needed? In the EU? In Estonia? In the regions? Where? That's a quite good question. And the fundamental changes they speak about is, they said there was an old energy system. An old energy system based on centralized power station, and these power stations were based on fossil energy. And you know better about what I speak looking to your country. You know it quite well, the situation in your country, centralized and dirty energy. And they speak about the new system, about decentralized energy production based on clean energy, on renewable energy, and they speak about new player. Who is a player? What we know and what we learn is we have a complete unfair competition in the energy market, an unfair competition between centralized and decentralized systems, and the cooperatives we are speaking about here today and the past year and months. The cooperatives are a part of the decentralized system and a part of the new players. There are different others, but cooperative is a very important part. So we have an unfair competition between centralized and decentralized systems, and we have a very unfair competition between renewable energy and fossil and nuclear energy. Why unfair? The legislation and all political action still is mainly focused on the centralized system. And second, the dirty energy, coal, gas, oil shale, is much higher subsidized than the renewable energy system. And I don't know whether you're aware that the International Monetary Fund, which is not an ecological group, they published a paper, I think it was in May, and they make an estimation about the energy, the subsidies we put worldwide into the dirty energy. And they find out it is $5.3 trillion. $5.3 trillion every year we put worldwide into dirty energy. Do you know how much $3.5 trillion is? It is $14.5 billion a day, or $604 million every hour, worldwide. This is $600 million since we came up from the lunch. We spent worldwide in promoting dirty energy. And we speak about level playing field. This is worldwide. They make the calculation for Europe. In Europe, it is not so much, but it's also $330 billion a year, so around $37 million every hour in Europe. We subsidize dirty energy. So it is not a fair competition. And somebody spoke about a dream he had this morning. He dreamed about a better future and so on. Yes, it's good to dream, but these figures are a nightmare. It's not a dream. I'm coming from Germany, and we have some positive development. Why is it? That what we call the Energiewende happens not because our politicians are more clever than yours. It happens because people became active. It is a result of public pressure starting in the anti-nuclear movement in the 70s. And the anti-nuclear movement said, we are not opposing just against something. We would like to say an alternative is possible. That's why the renewable energy sector is a result of the anti-nuclear movement. It's coming from bottom up. Bottom-up initiatives, private people, farmers, cooperatives, they have done the job. And not those who run the centralized system in the past. We have 4 big utilities, 4 suppliers. It is citizens' energy project. It is a democratization of the energy system. It is to make sure that local people can participate in a new market, that they can earn the money which the big companies like to earn and earned in the past. The basis of that was a legal frame. It was a so-called renewable energy law. And this renewable energy law was mainly responsible for the success we had. And what is inside in that law? It is absolutely clear, in Germany, renewable energy has priority. Everybody who is producing renewable energy has a very easy access to the grid. It takes not a huge bureaucracy. Me, myself, when I installed my PV on the roof a couple of months ago or years ago, I think it took me a week between the discussion of the producer and the person to install it and finalizing it on my roof. It's no bureaucracy. The marketing is made by the operator. You do not have to take care of the energy you produce. It's in the hand of those who run the system right now. We had a 20 years feed-in tariff, so a very, very stable situation. And this, everything together, gives a good and a clear signal for investments in the renewable energy sector. And that's why we had a lot of investments, because of the quite good legal frame. And you might know these figures. Right now in Germany, does it work? Yeah. You can see that we have 73 gigawatt installed capacities in the renewable energy sector already. We have about 25,000 windmills. We have 38,000 megawatt installed PV. We have 8,000 biogas facilities. And you can see who is the owner of that. It is private people. It is farmers. It is cooperatives. And the big 4 energy suppliers have a very small share, just 5% of that. They slept in the past. They were not active. They have not understand what's coming up. They have no interest. What we can see is solar becomes more and more cheap. The investment costs are going down rapidly. And right now, we have spoken about that yesterday, Andres. If you make a calculation on roof investments, the price of each kilowatt coming from PV on roof is about 7 to 8 euro cents per kilowatt hour. And wind, we speak about here not on very good conditions as you, Hans, have in Denmark, but more bad conditions inland of Bavaria, for example, south of Germany, where we have conditions 6 to 6.5 meters per second. And also there we already start to produce wind electricity for 5 to 6 euro cents each kilowatt hour. And speaking about wind, I'm completely surprised about the discussion you have in your country. I learn very often the wind conditions are not so good. We would love to have the wind conditions we have inland, in Köpu, for example. We would love to have them in Germany. I tell you, we would love to have them. The wind conditions are much better than you expect. Okay, energy production, so in small-scale projects becomes a business right now without subsidies. So I'm proud to have my PV now on my roof because I produce my own energy cheaper than I can buy it from the grid. And this is the reason why new markets are coming up, storage of PV. Okay, the situation in your country is different to my country. The energy prices in Estonia are very much cheaper than in Germany, but we know that you have very feasible projects. From the economic point of view, here within the projects, I know a bit about HUMA projects and I know a bit about Köpu. It is fascinating to see that people coming up, stand up, and they identify their local problems, and they are the only one to solve the problems. We have understood a little bit about competitions between companies and cooperatives. Where is a company going to Köpu and said, I'm ready to build the biogas facility? Where is a company to go to Yuma and said, we are ready to do the business you would like to see, the district clinic? They are not there. It is the local, it's a cooperative to say, we have identified a problem and we would like to solve it together. We made a lot of calculations together with colleagues from Yuma, and they can achieve a very, very reasonable energy price. We have made a couple of calculations in Köpu with the biogas facility on the milk farm and the local district heating grid. We can see that they can achieve a fascinating price of electricity less than 6 euro cent, the heat price 4 euro cent each kilowatt hour. Good conditions for Europe, even for Estonia, would be fascinating conditions for my country. And I tell you, if such a project would happen, or the situation would be in my country, it will be realized within a year, no problem. But we know that the situation is different. One of the success factors we had was a regional aspect. We have spoken about that. So we can combine now energy production and regional development. We can create jobs in the regions, and this is something what the politicians should take into account. They always speak about we need some more development in the regions. We know about the problems of the milk farm in Köpu, an extreme low milk price. And what is the reaction? The politicians should try to check alternatives in money making in rural areas, and they should promote these kinds of activities. And what we understand now and what we learned in my country and in Denmark too, it is the energy, the decentralized energy, which could be such a source for new investments. We made a couple of mistakes in my country. I have to come to an end, but I started 3 minutes later. We made some technical mistakes. There was too little links between PV, 4 minutes, thank you. Between PV, between wind and biomass. It was clear you could sell everything you produced. There was no linkage between all these different things. It changed. We had some environmental problems, yes, especially with biogas and land use. We use a lot of maize. We have competition in land use. We have nature conservation projects. And we could just advise to make better use of manure and residues, such what we have foreseen in Köpo. I think this is the right way. We had a clear concentration on electricity. In Germany, we have not spoken too much about the heat sector. Even by establishing the biogas facilities, they just produce the electricity and the enormous amount of heat is not used. So it was a big mistake we have done. But the biggest mistake, what we are doing right now, is the political mistake. The big four utilities, the big companies are waking up. The dinosaur is awake. And the dinosaur is going to the politicians and said, hey guys, these cooperatives, these farmers, these small-scale projects, this decentralized energy, they eat my cookies. It is my job to produce energy. It is their job to consume energy. It is their job to pay, and it is my job to earn. And the politicians react. And that's why it is a political question. They move away from the feed-in tariff, for example, and they go to the auction system, which is much in favor of centralized structures. It's the interest of big companies. And the question is there any difference to your country? Who is interested in energy? We have an enormous amount of cooperatives, and we will see how this political fight will come to an end. My observations, and this is why I come to an end now, I do not see too many engagement of your government. It seems that the government is quite happy when they fulfill the obligations coming from the European Union, 2020 goals, and then it's fine. I understand that renewable energy is not seen as a real chance to develop something, even to make a development in rural areas, but it seems more to be a burden. I have not seen that any one of the politicians here is really speaking about to combine regional development and energy production. Is there any politicians who really promotes and understand the value of decentralized structures in the energy production? Is there any politicians who is really aware about the value of a cooperative? Is the value of the cooperative really well understood? I have my doubts on that. You have advantages in Estonia. You have, from my point of view, fascinating conditions in the renewable energy sector, especially in wind and biomass, not just at the coast with the wind, but also inland. Solar is a little bit more complicated because you have a very long winter with less sun, but you should also make use of the solar. But again, it's a little bit more complicated. The conditions, the yield you can have, we have spoken about that. Andres, I think your solar installation on your roof is more profitable than that, or more effective than that one on my roof. You have some disadvantages in the projects. Whenever you have to compete biomass with biomass, so in Köpo, wood is already used as a source of heat, and you would like to replace it by wood, by pellets or by wood sticks. It is more complicated than having gas or having fossil energy as a competitor. You have still very cheap energy prices. We have spoken about that, but we understand also that these cheap energy prices are due to the fact that dirty energy is deeply subsidized. You have, and this is the most biggest advantage you have engaged, you have active, and you have skilled people in all selected projects. And these people want changes in their behavior. The people are the most best capital to have. The most best capital. It's the people to change the world. Every time and everywhere. It takes time, but it's the people to stand up, and you know it much better than we do it. The changes, the huge changes 25 years ago in this area, in Poland, in Eastern Europe, happens not because the politicians would like to see another system. It was people to stand up and said, we would like to have changes. You have very little experience. This can be solved the problem by learning from others, by doing international cooperation. You need technical support. What we'll understand is that whenever we ask about figures, how much energy you produce, how high is the energy price, they said, we don't know. This has to be changed. You need better calculations. And and this is, I think, not the final, but nearly the final slide. You need a political debate about the future of energy policy in your country. Don't allow the politicians to do whatever they want. Get in contact with them, start a debate with them, and advise them to look around the world, whether centralized or decentralized systems are welcome, which player they want to see, whether they want to see cooperatives and local authorities and farmers and private people going in or not, and ask them what kind of fundamental changes are wanted and foreseen in your own country. You need capacity building, you need support of bottom-up initiatives, and it's not about dreams, it's about acting. It's about acting. Ask your politicians, please allow us to do the job we want to do. We are liberal, we are market-based and concentrated. Let's allow to work in the energy sector. Bottom up instead of top down. It was a good time we spent together here in this project. Thanks for the time. Hans and me, we very appreciate, and it was good to be together with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lutz. Ja nüüd, kui on küsimusi Lutzile, kas Saksamaa kohta, tema tähelepanekute kohta Eestis, siis saalist paluks küsimused. Tuulikil siit eest on küsimus. Ma annan sult enda mikrofoni.
Thank you. I have a question. How do you answer to those people who say that there is so much renewable energy nowadays in Germany that it creates problems for the grid in the neighboring countries and that something needs to be done? What do you answer those?
Well, you know, we are on the way on the European side to do the changes. And when we started with renewable energy, there were a lot of neighbors, Poland, France, and Czech, saying, yes, you can do the changes, and when the sun is not shining and the wind is not blowing, you need to import our energy, coming from coal or coming from nuclear. And now they blame us that we have too much energy. Yes, indeed, we are in the stage, and this is also mentioned in the policy paper I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation from the European Union. We are in the stage to create a European market. And it is not just to have an integration of renewable energy into not a national but in a European market. It's not the integration of renewable energy. It's a change, a complete change. And I think Poland, for example, was quite happy a couple of weeks ago that solar energy came from Germany to Poland because they had not enough water to chill the coal-fired station. So it is always a blaming of our policy because they do not want to see any changes. And what Hans already said, you know, 10 or 15 years ago in Denmark, they said it is completely impossible to have more than 20% of windmill, 10% of wind energy in the grid. Now they have more than 40%. And the next what I would like to say, innovation. Where's innovation coming from? We know that we have this fluctuating energy, wind or solar. And there will be a change. Since 3 or 4 years, it is beneficial in Germany to make use of your own produced PV electricity. And that's why people start now, and not 5 years ago, because it was not profitable enough. They start now to think about storage of solar energy, and Tesla storage will be maybe a breakthrough this on the market. Wind. Why not making use of wind energy for heat purposes? We run a project in the northeastern part of Poland, where this very first idea not to send the electricity coming from a wind turbine to the grid, but to send it to a heat pump and to produce heat and to store the heat. And the calculation we made shows us that this heat will be cheaper than the heat coming from the dirty coal coming from Russia. And this is the innovation. And you know, it is a long way to go. No doubt, but there is no alternative on the way from centralized dirty energy to decentralized renewable and clean energy. And it is not just a technology question, it's also the structure. And that's why we are fighting to see new players in and to combine the possibility of region development and energy production.
Thank you. We have one more question.
Can you hear me? Yeah. My question is, you're always constantly saying that centralized energy by definition is dirty and decentralized is always clean. So is it theoretically possible that centralized electricity system can be clean?
Sure.
So because earlier this morning we heard that there is those two factors in energy which are kind of constants, that like synergies and economy of scale. So me thinking that maybe putting those two together would create some synergy, that producing cleaner energy in a centralized way is still cheaper than decentralized way?
Well, you can, and this is what the big companies try now in Germany, you can concentrate the potentially decentralized renewable energy. It is clear that renewable energy is more decentralized. I think there is no doubt about that. But you can try to concentrate that. This is what the big companies try to do with this Desertec project in the desert of North Africa, or what they try to do with offshore farms, wind farms. You can do it. You know that offshore wind is much more expensive than onshore wind. And it is for sure, it is a competition between different interests and economic interests. And I don't want to say that we will solve all our problems just with decentralized energies. We have enough technical problems. But the potential to make use as much as possible from decentralized structures which are cheap enough. And again, there's for me personally, there's no alternative now to the solar installation I have on my roof. I'm so proud and happy about that I do not see any centralized renewable energy project which can compete with some of the decentralized ones. Even we have heard and learned from Willem, and he's quite right, all the economic questions of bigger installation and so on. So it is not just to say centralized and big is bad and small and decentralized is good, but we should really check about the possibilities. And again, it is fascinating to see for me that to those projects we will learn now, Köpu, Yuma, there is no economic interest of any company going in and said, we do the job for you. There are so many places for this engagement of cooperatives that I really can aware and ask all and every politicians to make sure that the people who would like to do something can do that what they want to do.
Thank you. And Hans has one comment. Yeah.
Yes, just an answer to your question. I've been working a lot on biomass utilization, and there's no doubt a centralized, large biomass production facility is much, much cleaner than a small one. It can be made clean for particle emission and a lot of things in a more efficient way. So you just have the balance, because in a large biomass production facility, you also want to use the heat, and if it's so large and you have no people around you, then you waste your heat. So that's where we have the balance between small decentralized and larger. But of course, 50 megawatt large biomass plant is extremely efficient and low polluting.
But, sorry, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
What is big and what is small? What is centralized and what is decentralized? If you have a village.
What is big, what is small? What is decentralized big? Or centralized?
If you have a village with 50 houses and you install a district heating for the 50 houses, is it big, is it small? It's decentralized, and it doesn't make a sense on Yuma, for example, to install one big biomass boiler to produce the heat for each and every houses, because the grid connection would be much too expensive. So I see the projects which are designed by the people on Yuma or on Inköpu as very feasible, even from the economic and environmental point of view.
One question more. You talked about earlier of those dirty subsidies. Was it $5.3 trillion? Can you elaborate a bit from where those dirty subsidies are coming? You already also mentioned that there are some dirty subsidies in Estonia. So, you know, I haven't seen one, so maybe you can pinpoint me where they are.
Yeah, I will provide you with a study. I think we should not start the debate now.
Yeah, but regarding those $5.3 trillion.
$5.3 trillion, it's not a figure I estimated, and I checked. It is International Monetary Fund. And this is quite interesting, the Monetary Fund, which is not an eco organization. It's not the United Nations Environmental Program. It's the Monetary Fund. And they said 5.3 trillion is perverse. They use the word perverse because it blocks innovation. It is not that it stimulates an economic development, and it is not in favor of those poorest people in the world. I'm happy to provide you with that paper.
Okay, thank you.